Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Math in Minutes. So today we're going to be starting a new unit today, and it's called Mastering Ratio and Proportion. So what is a ratio? A ratio shows that the relationship between quantities by comparing them side by side. It tells us how many times one quantity is compared to another. And in the rules, in this case, the quantities must be the same kind. So for example, if we're comparing fruits, it has to be fruit and fruit. So it can't be like you're comparing fruit or vegetable. And in the notation, it has to be A to B. Like it can either be in math form or in word form, or you can even write it as a fraction because these are both equivalent. So if we have 3 to 2, this is in the notation of this one, we can write it as this, as the word form, or we can write it as the fraction 3 over 2. So the doodle method is like seeing the groups. So this is a pretty common example here is from apples to oranges. So we have, if we're given the question that, what is the ratios of apples to oranges? There are 3 apples to 2 oranges, which means that for every 3 apples, there are 2 oranges. So this is what we would say. If it was, if we had the ratio of apples to the total fruits, so if we have for every 3 apples, there are 5 total fruits. So these are the 2 golden rules. So number 1 is that the order does matter. So if we were asked the ratio of red chairs to blue chairs, it would be 2 to 1. If you write 1 to 2, then you're saying that there's 1 red chair and 2 blue chairs, and that changes the entire meaning altogether. And number 2, it has to be in the same units. So for example, if we have kilograms and meters, you can't compare kilograms to length. So you can only compare kilograms to kilograms or meters to meters. So there's also another rule called simplifying, and this is considered as like tidying up messy fractions. So this makes the ratios easier to read, compare, and use. So for example, if we have 18 to 24, then we can divide by 6, which is its common factor, and we will get 3 to 4 because 18 divided by 6 is 3 and 24 divided by 6 is 4. The relationship is the same, but the numbers are much more simplified and organized. So we can consider ratios in the real world by if we have the order of chairs in the classroom, this would be 10 to 5, and this can be simplified to 2 to 1 because we're dividing 5. And then if we have a wallet and we have a $20 bill and a $10 bill, we can simplify this to 2 to 1 because the common factor is 10. And this, if we have like a team here, like a soccer team, then the players to the captain is 11 to 1 because there's 11 players here, 11 blue dots, and there's one captain here, which is the 1 yellow dot. So now we're moving on to proportion, which is the science of balance. So the ratio of 2 to 4 is equal to the ratio of 4 to 8, and these both simplify to 1 to 2. A proportion is a statement that shows that 2 ratios are equal, and if they balance, they are in proportion. So to check that if a proportion is true, so for if we have 5 times 7, 5 to 7, I mean, is equal to 10 to 14, then we can rewrite this as fractions, which will be 5 over 7 equals 10 over 14, and we can cross multiply. So if we cross multiply 5 and 14, we get 70. And if we cross multiply 7 to 10, then we should also get 70, which in this case is true. And then this shows that since the products are equal, the proportion is true. So we have scaling up and down. So if we have 2 cups that should feed 4 people, then we could have 4 cups that will feed 8 people. This shows that both of these are equal because these both simplify to 1 to 2 as we saw previously. We can also show it into speed and distance, which is if we have 50 kilometers in 1 hour, this simplifies, you can show it as 100 to 2, so which means that in 2 hours that you will be traveling 100 kilometers because you can multiply 50 to 1 by 2. And there's another example called photocopying. So if you can print 5 minute photocopy 5 pages in 1 minute, you can photocopy 15 pages in 3 minutes because you multiply the entire thing by 3. So now we can solve for the unknown factor, which is finding x. So the problem is, if we have 4 to 6 equals to x to 18, find the value of x. You can rewrite this as fractions first, which will be 4 over 6 equals x over 18. You can also cross multiply as well, and you will get 4 times 18 equals 6 times x. Then you will divide 6 on both sides, and then you'll get x equals to 12. Another way you can also do this is that you can, you know that 6 times 3 is 18. So that if you multiply 4 and 3, then you should get 12. But in general, this won't always work because you will end up getting fractions that don't have common multiples, like 6 and 18. So this is the unitary method, which is finding the value of 1. So if we have a group here, so if we have this group, which is 6 pens equals to $54, and we need to find the cost of 1 pen, which is the unit, we'll divide $54 by 6 pens, and we'll get that 1 pen costs $9. And then if we have a target that we need to solve, for example, if we need to find the cost of 14 pens, we can multiply 14 times $9 because we found the cost of 1 pen over here. So now that makes it even more easier to find 14 pens, which will be $126. So we have sharing and dividing the total parts of a ratio. So we have to divide 40 balls in a ratio of 3 to 5. So if we have the value of 1 part is 5, which is 40 divided by 8. Since there are 8 total parts and 3 are red and 5 are blue, we can say that the value for 1 part is 40 divided by 8 is 5. So each one of these are 5. And if we need to calculate for the red, we'll do 3 times 5, which is 15. And if we need to calculate for the blue, we have 5 times 5, which is 25. So we have the map scale here, and this is scale. The scale is 1 to 200, and the map distance is 700. So the real distance calculation would be 7 centimeters times 200 equals to 1400 centimeters. If we need to convert to meters, then we'll do 1400 divided by 100, and this will give us 14 meters. This is the unit conversion. So now these are common mistakes that happen in ratios. If, for example, the most common one is comparing different units. So if you're comparing minutes to seconds, then that wouldn't make sense because it's stated in the golden rule that you need to compare the same units instead of different. So then you have to convert the the seconds to minutes or the minutes to seconds before you can compare them. The second is changing the order. So for example, if you write 2 to 3 when the question asks for 3 to 2, again this changes the complete meaning altogether. The third one is forgetting to simplify. If the question asks to simplify your answer and you leave an answer as 10 to 20 instead of 1 to 2, then that would be marked wrong because 10 to 20 is not in its simplified form, and this can be simplified to 1 to 2. And the fourth is calculation errors. So for example, if you're forgetting to cross multiply to check the equality, then the question will most likely be marked wrong. And this is the master cheat sheet here. So the first one is comparing the same kind. The order matters. So for example, A to B does not equal to B to A because they both have different meanings. And then the third one is simplifying, which is dividing the both terms. The second one is proportion, where it's the statement of equality. Then you check the equality theorem by cross multiplying. And these are some problem solving hacks here in the third one. So if it's asking for the total given part, then you would add 3 and 5, which is 8. You're adding the 3 parts plus the 5 parts, which will give 8. And if you have a question based on money or speed, find the value of 1 unit first, and then find the target problem it's asking for. The third one is the map scale. So you multiply the map distance by the scale to find your answer. And that's it for today. Bye!